Bad news, Brian. Let me tell y'all a little Scientology story. Being that this is some interesting times we're living in. Just all kind of things taking place. I just heard not too long ago, I guess the Hubble telescope, I guess they detected something out of space or whatever. And they said they seen a fleet of spaceships with the lights on, riding and slapping, heading straight our way. So that's crazy. Y'all need to, be on the lookout for that or whatever. But yeah, these are some interesting times. But yeah, let me get into this story about Scientology. And this is inspired actually by another content creator, Al Prophet. And if you ain't seen Al Prophet, check out his videos. He do a lot of documentaries and stuff. He out the Detroit area. But I guess he just made a post somebody shared with me mentioning something to do with the Nation of Islam and Scientology. And that just reminded me of this story that I'm going to speak on. So I guess let me should I tell a story first or should I speak on the whole Nation and Scientology connection? You know what? Yeah, I'll probably do that. Well, first, let me explain a little bit about Scientology for those that don't know. Now, Scientology, some would say, is like a religion. And a lot of people would say it's like a cult. So you would obviously have to take a look at it yourself to make your own decision. But now, Scientology was created by, it was an author, L. Ron Hubbard, I think back in the 50s or whatever. And I actually remember that book he had, Dianetics, like back in the late 80s and 90s. I remember watching the Time Warner commercials. Just happened to be on TV as a little boy. Like, I remember that. So then just come to find out he started Scientology or whatever. Now, Scientology, now I know a little bit because I actually tried to read that book, Dianetics, but I was only 10 years old, so whatever. But a little bit of it, from what I understand, they do something that I know of. It's something called auditing, and it's basically, how should I put it, pinpointing perhaps past trauma and things that you had in your life that may prevent you from moving forward. And I could be wrong about that, but something along those lines when it means auditing, basically pinpointing the exact memory in your life that may have made a traumatic change or whatever, for better or worse. Get it? So now, and again, that's just a real small definition of Scientology. But now, them and the whole Nation of Islam connection, well, honestly, I'm going to say this. That, in my opinion, I don't know, but I would think that is more, how should I say, a political maneuver on behalf of the nation as opposed to an intellectual maneuver. And again, I could be wrong. Now, and this is why I say this, because, and this is all my opinion, how should I put this? Now, Scientology, in my opinion, is kind of, would be like a white person's, and this is not a racist, and I don't mean all white people, this is what I'm saying, a white person's definition, or definition of him interfacing with the metaphysical, if you get my drift. Now, whereas a black person, he don't necessarily need to walk through that door by default. And this is not racist about race. This is not the crayon game. What I mean by that, it's the reason why I say that, because a lot of the spirituality within black African American people, whatever you want to call it, got a lot to do with the metaphysical, whether you know it or not. But I hope y'all get what I'm saying. So that's not a door necessarily somebody black. Now this is not to say nobody black should be Scientologist. Hey, that ain't my opinion. You be what you want to be. Obviously, there is something you can learn from that. I'm not saying not, but again, some you ask it's a cult. So I'll leave that up to you to decide. But that's a real quick definition, and I hope y'all get that of, in my opinion, what I think the whole nation and Scientology connection. That would be more a political chess maneuver, economic maneuver, in my opinion, than an intellectual one. And this is just my opinion. Now, whether is that a good, smart move, I don't know. I haven't really took a look at it, and I can actually speak a little bit more on it, but that's beyond the scope of YouTube. So I'm just really just giving y'all a definition of what I think or believe at this moment Scientology ought to be in. Is it a cult or is it a religion? I'll let y'all decide again. But I will say this, and this is the story I'm getting to. I got a quick little Scientology story. So let me break it down. This took place back in 2000, this is a while ago, y'all. Maybe in 2000, I want to say 12, but it could have been before that. It may have been 2005, 6. I know this. It was during the time it was a science fiction movie out. I think it was called like Battle LA. Whatever year that movie came out, that's the year I was in LA and this story take place. Because I actually seen that movie in LA when it debuted. So now, when we first got to LA, this was me and an ex-girl of mine. She was actually going to a hair show. And it was like maybe a week seminar, and I actually learned a lot about the hair gang industry in that short period of time because, again, like I said, it was a seminar. So we met a lot of people. They had classes talking about the business, products, etc. And then they had, of course, different barbers and beauticians on display. I actually seen her. She was like maybe 14. She cutting faces in the back of heads. And I mean like in record time. Like you had a lot of people with hands, but you get my drift. But anyway, when we first touched down in LA, if you're coming from Northern California, we take I-5 straight shot Erskine, bam, hit LA. Now we go through the Grapevine, all that. Now we in Hollywood, so we get off now. Oh, girl, she wants to go get her feet or something, whatever. Bam, she parked, bam. So I get out, of course. Now I got tree, I'm ready to go roll one up. So I find the closest, it wasn't a smoke shop, but it was a store. Now this was on Hollywood Boulevard, I believe. So I went in there, I bought something to roll. I can't even remember what we were smoking back. So I bought something to roll and I bought a brew. So I walk out the little store or whatever. Again, I'm on Hollywood Boulevard, so I'm just touched down in LA. So I hadn't been to LA like maybe a few years since then. So, and again, I'm fake white juice, bam. So I'm walking, looking around, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me get off this main street and crack this beer and roll this blunt. And while she doing that, so that's what I do. Now I forget exactly what street it's on. Now it was an overpath. And so I walked over the overpath, and of course you see downtown LA in the background or whatever. And I maybe walked up maybe 2 blocks, if that. Can't remember. Now it was some apartments with some stairs. So I go sit on the stairs. And I think I'm going through my phone or whatever, rolling. And now I just happened to look and peep right across the street from the apartments is a big ass castle. A big ass castle. And I'm not playing, y'all. That shit was just right there. And at the top, it had the Church of Scientology. So I look, I'm like, oh. And now, of course, at this point, I've heard of Scientology, or I'm familiar with the book, the author, the founder, or whatever. So I'm just looking at it like, damn, they doing it like that. Like I'm like, I'm telling y'all, of course, if you ain't seen it, it's a big ass castle. Of course, you can Google the pictures or whatever, but and it was just like right there. Like I didn't notice it, so now I'm just really staring at it. Now I see two, I guess, students or pupils affiliated with them, like walking down, because I'm standing right there by the staircase looking, and I just say something to it. It's two dudes, two youngsters, two boys, and they had a certain look to them. I'm just gonna say that they had a certain look to them, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all down with that?" And oh man, well, like how was it in there? Real quick. I'm talking to them, and out of nowhere, just this fast, police come on bikes, swoop up on us, and it wasn't LAPD, it wasn't Hollywood PD. They got their own PD, and I looked at him. He had the same look as them. And he pulled up. He didn't really say nothing, but he pulled up, and I'm talking to them, and I just switch it over to him. I'm like, "Oh yeah, man, I just in town. I'm not from LA, I'm a tourist or whatever." He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, see, this church is Scientology." And then I mentioned that book, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And he kind of dropped his guard. Then he said something, and they kind of like, "Yeah, man, if you ever time you come through, we give you a visit." I'm like, "Yeah," and I spit up like, "Hell no," but that's the story, y'all. And I just found that pretty odd about that. The Church of Scientology. Now, again, that's a big ass castle, and they all look the same. The two students and the police. Now, I will say that. I'm just gonna say that. Now, do I think it's a cult or is it a religion? I'll let y'all decide. But that's pretty much what I really wanted to say in this video regarding Scientology, even when it comes to the Nation of Islam. I hope I broke that down for y'all enough to digest when it comes to, I guess, intellectually, I'll put it. And that really ain't the word as far as the nation interfacing with Scientology. It would, and this is my opinion. I already did it anyway, so, but I'm pretty sure, again, it was more of a probably a political move as opposed to an intellectual move, and that's my opinion.